My name is Brent Peoples, the artist for Titans and New Superman, and I'm listening to Southern Fried Geekery.
1, 2, 3.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As always, I am Caleb, and I am very, very happy because I'm back in Arkansas. I'm no longer traveling, and I am here with some special people today. Who am I here with, guys?
Sean is here.
Oh wait, this is where we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, this is
okay,
it.
I forgot.
It's been a while.
so long.
It's been a while.
This is Jerry.
Yeah.
And, well, unfortunately, we're Craigless. Craig took his lovely lady, and they went on a little weekend vacation.
We are not, however, Craig's houseless.
We are not. We are in.
That didn't make any sense grammatically, but
I still approve, regardless.
We have invaded Craig's home, and we are back in our normal studio. I am glad to be with my boys. I've missed you guys the past couple weeks. I hope everybody enjoyed the shows that I put together while I was on the road, though. Kind of improvised a little bit, did the best I can. Had some good stuff. Got to talk to some really cool people. We got Wendy and Brian on the show to do a C2E2 recap, and recorded a few panels from actually a literary convention that I went to in Portland. But
all 7 hours of it, huh?
yeah, 7 hours. No, it was actually just 2 hours and some odd minutes. And get some feedback there. That's weird. 2 hours and some odd minutes, and for some reason there was a glitch in it, and we recorded a bunch of dead air. But I got that fixed. No big deal. But yeah, so I'm glad to be back. And this is going to be a regular comics episode because we haven't talked about some regular coming out funny books in a hot minute because of all the travels. But I am really, really excited. Man, I've missed you guys. I really have.
Missed you.
But you know what helped? You know what helped in my travels to not miss you, to ease the heartache a little bit? Can you guess?
Alcohol.
Well, that. But, no, our Facebook page, man.
Indeed.
Having everybody connect on the Facebook page. All of our friends from all over the place. Getting on our Facebook group and talking about stuff. It really did help. So if you're not connected to our Facebook page, you absolutely should. We have a really cool group there. Lots of amazing people from all over the country, all over the world. Hell, there's some folks on there that you need to meet, and they're the dopeness. So come on there. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. And if you got any comments, complaints, or concerns, any little nitpicks, stuff like that, you just want to tell me you love me, send me little love letters, or ask any questions, you can shoot me an email, or you shoot the guys an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com.
Or just dropping Caleb's DMs.
Or slide in my DMs. So, all right. So it's been a fun weekend, but I'm not the only one who's been to a little convention, who's been convention hopping in the past few weeks. Sean.
Yes, sir.
What's been going on this weekend, brother?
Oh, I've been attending AnimeCon Arkansas this entire weekend. AnimeCon Arkansas is a really big anime convention we have down here because, I mean, centrally focused, probably the only one that I'm aware of.
Yeah, in Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
There's one in Fayetteville.
But yeah, it's been, like I said, the last couple of days, like even a Friday, which didn't start till 3, was hopping.
Yeah.
A lot big turnout. And then Saturday was just nuts. And today I'll only be here for a little bit because at 4:00 today kicks off WrestleMania.
It does. WrestleMania is on and popping.
Yes, WrestleMania is tonight as of this recording. It is tonight. I am hyped. I am both celebrating the fun art of cosplay popularized by anime and wrestling as Kevin Owens today in the recording booth as well at the con today.
Oh, I thought you were just, dressing up as Kevin Owens because
you miss it.
Just
I love it. And I like carrying a belt around.
You do like carrying a belt around.
But yeah, it's been a blast. I posted up some pictures on our Facebook page of all the amazing and cool cosplays I've seen over the weekend.
So I went to AnimeCon last year. We actually recorded a little bit at AnimeCon. We weren't able to this year because all the goings and comings and hustles and bustles. But
indeed.
So how's this year's con stack up to last year's? I know you showed lots of cosplay and stuff like that, but have there been any cool panels? I mean, tell me about the vendors and stuff.
Oh, vendors have been a lot of, I'm going to say honestly, a lot of the same people that come through. There've been a few new, like kind of, like Etsy style vendors, a lot of like hand stitch, handmade kind of things. Mm-hmm. A lot of panels though. They gotten a lot of like, My Hero Academia is blowing up this year. There's a ton of cosplayers. There's been at least, I'm pretty sure 2 panels of My Hero Academia alone, as well as Naruto panels, just kind of like cosplay panels, just a whole lot. They've had great guests. They had a voice actor who's done too many for me to name because I'm not prepped for this. Right. But I know Soul Eater, he was Soul. Mm-hmm. He's like probably the big guest. And I saw that line that just formed out. Nice. So, I mean, And attendance, personally, and granted, I wasn't actually tracking last time we were there last year, but it feels bigger. Like, cool. I think they got a lot more people in this year.
That's dope, dude.
Indeed.
Nice. Well, I didn't get to go to the con this year, but I did do something. You know, I can't not do nothing. And this actually wasn't my idea. The Hubs, who is, as you guys know, who listen to the show, Raj doesn't give a shit about comics. That's just not his thing. But he loves the movies. And so he grabbed me yesterday and said, hey, this new Shazam flick that's out, it looks cool. Let's go watch it. And we did. And I loved it. And I'm sure, like, once you guys are able to see it and Craig's able to see it, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit on the show. But just, you know, without spoiling anything, I absolutely adored this film. For my money, for my taste, this is artist subjective. The new Shazam film is the best film out of all the recent DC movies. To me, it passed Wonder Woman, and I love Wonder Woman. So, yeah. But no, I had a fun. It was blast. But I don't have a very big history with Shazam, right? With Captain Marvel from the DC universe. It's not I was a Marvel kid. I know Sean, you were too.
Yeah.
Jerry, I think, tends to know more about the more obscure DC characters than we do. And then Craig's just a walking fucking encyclopedia.
It's true.
But so I reached out to somebody that I think is an expert to get like a little reading list. Like I was like, hey, you know, tell me what I'm missing. Where can I go to find out some stuff? So I called up our buddy Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast and said, hey, shoot me a list. Where can I go to get the good reads for the Shazam and Captain Marvel? And he came through. He came through big time. So I have a little short list I want to name off for anybody who is interested in this film, or you've seen this film and you're like me who may not have read much about him. You want to know where to look. I got a list for you. I did some homework. So I'm calling this Billy Z's Essential Shazam. Billy Z's Essential Shazam 101. Start off with the Shazam Family Archives. They're 4 volumes. They reprint the earliest Captain Marvel stories. There is a Captain Marvel Jr. spinoff series, which was more adult in tone and showcases the art of Mac Raboff, which Bill assures me still holds up to this day, which is always a hard thing with those classic comics. You know, seeing the art and does it work well with the way we look at art today. He assures me that it still does. The original Captain Marvel stories, which were published by Fawcett, are in the public domain, actually. Oh. And yeah, they can be found on websites like Digital Comic Museum and Comic Book Plus, where they can be legally downloaded. Billy Z recommends the Monster Society of Evil serialized storyline. And when he recommends something, you do well to follow through with that. Another one, Showcase presents Shazam. These are they're thicker books, but they're black and white reprints of the Marvel Family DC stories from 72 to 78. He says some of the first stories are a little bit of a chore to get through, but push on and you'll be rewarded. The cool thing about these is you can find these at Ollie's for like $5, and they're thick. Like they're
nice.
She's thick. Any reprints of Justice League of America 135 through 137, which has the Shazam characters brought over to the DC multiverse. And it also has the first meeting of Superman and Shazam. You can find those. Jerry Ordway's Power of Shazam started off as a graphic novel and then continued on for 47 issues. It hasn't been collected, but you can get it on Comixology. Of course, Kingdom Come, because it's fucking Kingdom Come, and that's all you need to know.
Yes.
Jeff Johns Shazam run, which was reprinted from the New 52 Justice League backups. It's a heavy influence on the new film. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily care for it at the time. I've got it. I've read it. I can co-sign on this one. It's a fun story. I actually like that one better than what he's doing with the Shazam book now. As far as the film side of things, the 74 through 76 live action series on the DC Network and the Justice League Unlimited episode Clash, which was written and produced by Dwayne McDuffie and J.M. DeMatteis. And Bill tells me that is the best Superman Captain Marvel matchup in any medium. So,
man, I'm sure I've watched it, but I can't think about it.
Yeah, you have to go look it up.
Track that down on the DC universe.
Yeah, DC app. I'm going to because, like I said, when he said like Bill's a DC dude. Like that man knows his DC, and so for him to come out and say, "Hey, this is the best in any medium," it's got to have some heart to it.
Right.
So, and yeah, so I want to send a special thank you out to Bill for like providing me this little cache of knowledge. I can't wait to go dive into some of those things. And you know what? Go listen to Comic Book Bears because those dudes are awesome. They're doing some cool things over there. All right, now that that's out of the way,
yes,
Shazam. Spoiler warnings. We are about to talk about comics. New comics, relatively new comics. We're going to talk about one that came out last week, and then I think the three of us have prepared books that came out in like the past couple weeks to talk about. Like I said, they're still on the shelf. They're relatively new. If you haven't read these after we name the title, you might want to hit the little pause button. That would be the button with the 2 little marks that stops us from talking. If we could have that in real life, I bet a lot of people would be happy.
I have no buttons that stop me from talking.
None. So. 0. No, Jerry just rolls. He's like the Kool-Aid man of spoken word. Just busting through brick walls. If you haven't read the books after we talk about them, we introduce everything, just skip ahead a little bit or push pause, go to your local comic shop, pick up the books, and come back and listen to us. That's why we put in show notes for the show. So no excuses. Don't yell at me for spoiling books. You had every ample opportunity to stop listening to us right now.
You have been warned.
And now we're going to spoil everything for you.
Yes.
So all right, we're going to roundtable a book like we always do. So the book we decided to roundtable this week, mainly because it's a huge event. It's Marvel's big thing right now that they're pushing forward. It is the culmination of about 7 years worth of Jason Aaron kicking ass on Thor. Yes. It's the War of the Realms. Applause.
Do we need a soundboard for you?
Man, we do.
You're really going heavy with the sound effects.
I'm in a really good mood. I missed you guys. So yeah, we're going to talk about War of the Realms this week. It came out last week, number 1. It is an event. Lots of tie-ins, which is kind of annoying, but it's to be expected. This is produced and given to us by the creative team of Jason Aaron, who is, kind of like Thor with a pen, who I saw in a bathroom 2 weeks ago. That was cool. Russell Dauterman is doing the inks and the lines, and Matt Wilson is blowing it up on the colors. So a very good creative team put forth a really strong showing. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of what this book is, let's talk about it a little bit. So 9 of the 10 realms have fallen to Malekith and his allies. Now, Malekith is the Dark Elf King, he's been giving Thor trouble ever since Thor was first brought over to the Marvel Universe. The Rainbow Bridge is shattered, Mjolnir is lost in the sun, and the Asgardians are refugees in the Bronx. Of all places, they're living in a brownstone, which is hilarious. Odin sits alone on a broken throne in his abandoned kingdom and is accosted by dark elf assassins who plunge their blades deep into the All-Father.
As they do.
On Earth, Thor and his faithful Muderdog Thori, who is the best Marvel character of all time, stand over a battered and bloodied Loki. And as the traitorous god of lies fumbles for words to save his hide, more dark elves attempt to slay them, Thor and Thori and Loki as well. But, Thor's never a god and one of a hammer. He's got lots of them, so he quickly just dispatches all those assassins. These assassins are not good at their jobs. First and foremost, none of these assassins get a raise. They're all going to get fired. Loki magics Thor away to find Malekith, much to the dismay of Thori, who, he's a dog. He's got some senses. He knows something's wrong.
Loki was Malekith.
Yes.
Okay. But you said that he spirited him away.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's when we still thought he was Loki, Jerry.
Yeah, I know, but
we were getting to the reveal.
Okay, gotcha.
Welcome to the show, Jerry.
It sounded, the way you said it sounded like he spirited them away. Not all 3 of them, just...
No.
Yeah.
So the person that we think is Loki spirited away...
Yes.
Thor.
Yeah. I'm following.
And then, literally the next sentence on my page is Loki reveals that he was Malekith all along. He and his warmongers set upon the God of Thunder. Back on Midgard, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man swings over the rooftops of the Bronx and sees Lady Freya battling her own little set of Dark Elves assassins, who, again, these people just, they are not good at their jobs. They are joined in battle by Lady Sif, Hildegard, and a really frail and cancer-ridden Jane Foster, who, has been an amazing Thor in her own right, who's been a big part of his run. The assassins are put down. All across New York, a feeling of dread spreads. Doctor Strange is readying his spells. Daredevil is gathering himself. Wolverine orders one last drink. And the Punisher, he just kind of keeps doing what he does and kills some folks. And basically, hell is unleashed on Midgard. The trolls, the frost giants, the demons, the angels, the hellhounds, they all kind of flood the streets of Manhattan. Which, when you try to get nasty in New York, you're going to be greeted with a certain set of folks. And not to disappoint, the Avengers show up. And of course, they're being written by Jason Aaron, so you kind of knew this was going to happen anyway. But they show up to face down Malekith and his newly named Lords of Midgard, who, it's the Enchantress, Dario Agger, who is this kind of head of the Roxxon Corporation, this evil, demon monster guy who's just a piece of shit. Malekith is riding a winged tiger, King Laufey, and there's some other tyrants from across the realms, which I can't name them. I'm not a I'm not a Thor guy, so I've enjoyed the run, but I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge that others probably do. So if you know who those are and you're listening to the show, just shoot it over to us and let us know. So battle happens, and when it seems that Laufey might be about to get the best of Lady Freya, Loki, the real Loki, shows up with a big green fucking sword and unhands his natural-born father. And there's a pun there, and we're not going to spoil it for you, but there's a pun there. But this does not turn the tide, and Earth and the Asgard's mightiest are being overwhelmed. The game of numbers is against them. Without Thor, who is up to his neck in frost giants and hammers over on Jotunheim, all might be lost. And that's as far as the plot goes, where issue number 1 ends. And so we're going to see where it goes from there. So just to get around the table, Sean, what did you think about this, buddy?
Fast, furious. I mean, they jumped straight into the war.
Yeah.
Throwing in a lot of characters, a lot of stuff, which honestly, maybe because I'm not reading the greater expanded Marvel thing, had a lot of questions, which may or may not get answered. But I mean, it's called War of the Realms. That's basically what you're jumping in for. And that definitely delivers that. Not enough, honestly, to hook me just in yet, but we'll get into some of the stuff I did like. But like, it was a solid first issue if you are interested in this whole big crossover event, for sure.
Yeah, it didn't super hook me either, but I mean, I haven't been reading Thor, but there was just some weird dialogue stuff in there. Like, there's a panel whenever the Avengers are about to fight, and Steve Rogers pretty much makes a catch these hands joke.
Right.
And I was just like, what did he say that? That doesn't sound like something Steve Rogers would say.
I was waiting on somebody to ask him how did he know that reference?
Yeah. I mean, he lives in modern society, but still, it doesn't seem like anything he would say.
He's been watching a lot of WWE. He's a big fan of Braun Strowman, whose catchphrase is, "Come get these hands."
Yeah. And,
WrestleMania's tonight.
I can see Cap being a wrestling fan. I think he would be.
Especially for his era, wrestling was actually really big in his natural timeline.
I love the bits with Spider-Man talking to Freya.
Yeah.
That was pretty hilarious. Whatever like weaponing gear Loki had was really fucking cool looking. That was really brutal what happened to him. But I mean, you know,
he kind of earned it.
I mean, and we already have another Loki out there right now, and as Guardians of the Galaxy, which is going to tie into this at some point. So, and there was no Beta Ray Bill.
There was no Beta Ray Bill. I know. There's.
But I mean, he's in
There's
Guardians of the Galaxy, and I don't know that that's actually tying in with this at all. I don't remember seeing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, Squirrel Girl is tying into this.
But yeah, but also Donny Cates. Well, I mean, Venom's tying into it. But I mean, I don't know. He seems like he's still trying to get Guardians of the Galaxy its own thing right now. So we'll see.
So I did like this, and it did hook it for me. But I say that with the caveat that I am reading Thor and I am reading the Avengers, and so I'm already kind of tailor-made to. We've been leading up to this for a while. They've been building and building and building to this. So for me, I was kind of hooked to begin with, and I'm curious to see what they're doing with it. I agree with Jerry. There were some odd moments, and I was going to say that I think pacing was a problem with this, but there was no pacing, and so if it's not there, it's just you go balls deep.
Nose dive straight into everything.
There's no taking your time. They don't. It suffers no fools. It's just like I said. It's battle royale. They ring the bell and there you go.
Yeah. Which, especially, I think, in a lead off to a giant war, that's not a terrible way to start it. You'll get more plot as like it'll probably slow down in the next issue. Plus, with all the tie-ins, it'll explain more.
And especially with Thor leading into this for a while.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. There has been a lead in. It's just been like
I just haven't been reading Thor.
For sure.
Right.
And so that's an issue. Like I don't know. Well, I say it's an issue. It's a bit of a catch, right? Because on one hand, you want every new book should introduce the reader to what's going on, but on the other hand, we've spent the last 2 years building to this. So it's like, what do you do? Do you, for readers that have read that, do you waste 4 pages catching up, or is that a waste? So it's kind of a, like, what do you do? You're rocking a hard place.
Right. Because overall, like I said, I've been reading Avengers, and
it has
I'm about to say, unless I missed it, it hasn't had any build up.
No.
And Thor doesn't have 4 fucking hammers in Avengers, and that's my first big question. Like, you were saddened as always when Beta Ray Bill's not involved, but he couldn't do anything because Thor's hogging all the fucking hammers. How do you get 4 hammers?
So little bit to
It was
that.
in the first issue.
Just curious, because that was my big
but
question out of this
It's
issue.
been a lead up. So Thor threw his hammer into this Mjolnir. He threw it into the sun, connected to the Mangog.
What did he or Jane Foster?
I think it was Jane Foster.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and double check, but
It was.
Anyway, so that's what you're right.
Yeah.
But a little piece of it got knocked off. Just a tiny shard of the Uru metal that makes up Mjolnir got knocked off, and they've been using that to produce all of these other hammers for Thor to work with, which is interesting because he can't pick up Mjolnir. Because of the unworthiness of that, and Craig's somewhere cringing because he doesn't like that aspect of it. But they've been using that to super produce hammers, and so
make up for the lack of Mjolnir.
In Thor, Thor's going through 4 hammers an issue. He's just busting them.
Dwarves are like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So somewhere.
I'm saying because he's hogging all. There's no
Tyrion
room for
Lannister's working up a sweat, man.
There's no room for any other Thors. He has all the hammers. Okay, I was curious
he has
about
all
that.
the hammers. Well,
But,
on one of the pages, it's he's got one tucked under his arm,
one's floating
He's
behind
got
him.
all kinds of stuff going on.
And it's very cool. But like I said, there is that little question. If you haven't been reading Thor, you wouldn't, like me, you wouldn't know what's going on.
Sure.
But I don't want to deter that because it was a cool fucking moment of just seeing him with all the hammers. It's like he's out doing Zorro, his 3-sword style. He's got 4 fucking hammers.
One of my favorite beats about this is the Loki beats. And I even think it was cool having
low key beats.
Ooh, I see what you did there. I even think it was cool having Malekith impersonate Loki as opposed to Loki impersonating somebody else for a change. That was a bit of misdirection. I think that was really smart on Aaron's on Jason Aaron's part as to kind of remove him from the board for a little bit.
Right.
But the other part, so Loki's been, if you haven't been reading it, Loki's been in a little bit of trouble, as he always is. I mean, he's Loki. He literally stabbed Freya in the back, which was, look, Loki has his problems with Odin, Loki has his problems with Thor, but he's always been a bit of a mama's boy.
Right.
That's one of the things that the films have actually gotten really right, is that Freya is always that's her son. And he stabbed her in the back. Literally. And for him to come back and kind of attempt to redeem himself in that way was a very heartfelt, touching moment. Very in character with Loki, because Loki is, the minute you know what Loki's going to do, you don't know what Loki's going to do. The minute you think you've got him figured out, he's going to flip the script on you and turn it around. And Aaron killed it.
Right.
Absolutely killed it making that happen. And then he became a toothpick. So
Then he became a toothpick.
Any predictions on that? Are we going to get Ice Giant Loki?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, again, we spoiler warned. So, but in this first issue, King Laufey that has this great moment of doing the evil villain mustache twirler exposition in the while he's pummeling Lady Freya, and while Loki comes in there with his big green giant fucking sword. But then he eats him. he says some shit, and then he just picks up Loki and just swallows his own son, which there's a...
I mean, not just the swallow where you expect the possibility of maybe busting the stomach. He bit him in half.
He Titan finished
yes,
him.
Like I said, so it's not like he'll bust out the stomach because he just swallowed him whole. He fucking bit, blood gushing.
Yeah, no.
Again, it's Loki, but it's a pretty brutal scene.
Kind of the same conversation we're having about the films right now is Loki actually dead? I don't know. Yeah. Jason Aaron spins a good web.
Right.
So,
and like I said, while there were definitely, like you mentioned, getting these hands kind of weird quotes, but honestly, one of the highlights for me in the book, even like I said, didn't really hook me, but Spider-Man Freya interaction was fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not, you need to go read it. Just
Man of Spiders.
And you also mentioned monologuing. And my favorite moment in the entire book is Malekith and his crew rolling in. They're all looking badass, intimidating and shit coming out of a fiery portal. He's talking about how the Avengers are going to get destroyed. The world is his, and Cap shield to the head.
Bam,
in the middle of the monologue, it's like, why don't they do that more?
Yeah.
Ping, ching, Avengers assemble. I popped. I literally popped at that moment. Just the ping. It was ringing loud in my head because that was beautiful.
It was a great, and that's one of those, as fast paced and as just going into this script as it was, he does take time to just stop for a minute. For me, it was when Cap calls Avengers assemble. Freya, forgive me, but what she says misses me at this point, but Spider-Man at the bottom of the page going, New York is for lovers.
Yeah, I think she's like four. It was like Avengers Assemble, for Asgard. New York is love.
Right, yeah.
Because Spider-Man is written amazingly in this book.
Just really funny. So I think this is a 7-issue event, maybe 9, I forget. I'm not exactly sure how many it is, but...
Or, like 32 if you're collecting
but it is almost company-wide.
It is a line-wide. So let's while we're talking about that, let's talk about that for a minute. Are you guys getting any of the tie-ins specifically for being tie-ins, or how do you guys feel about that?
Me and Jared are definitely getting one tie-in. But I'm not getting it because it's a tie-in. It's the Journey into Mystery book. That's because it's being written by podcasters. We're a big fan of the McElroys. Beyond that, I'm already on Avengers, and I'm probably not going to be getting any more of the War of the Realms thing. So,
and for me, honestly, the only reason I decided to pick this up is because I'm reading Venom that's tying into it. I've got Thor that's tying into it. I've got Asgardians of the Galaxy that's tying into it. And I've got Avengers that's tying into it. So if all these things are going to tie into it, I figured I might as well pick it up anyway. Because, we just got done with Spider-Geddon.
Right.
And that event about killed me. I loved it, but
it's a lot of books.
Yeah. And since I was already on, for the tie-ins for it, and I was picking up Journey into Mystery anyway, I decided to get it.
Right.
I'll probably be grabbing the Uncanny X-Men, the 1 of 3. Cause I'm a big, I love my X-Men, and they're actually really good again. So I'm gonna check that out. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like this past month, almost all of the Marvel Previews catalog was nothing but tie-ins. And so the problem I have with this, and it's not necessarily a problem, you want to know what all's happening in these events, if something's happening. But I also don't want to spend $4 on a book like Squirrel Girl that I'm not reading Squirrel Girl. Nothing against Squirrel Girl. It's a fantastic book. I've read a few trades. I think it's lovely. But it's just not a book I'm picking up month to month. I don't want to pick that book up thinking that it's a tie-in and it just have there be like one blip mention of War of the Realms. And Marvel's really bad about that.
Right. Or even if it's it's just an issue of Squirrel Girl fighting some goblins or whatever, that are coming in from Malekith's army, but it doesn't have a tie into the bigger picture.
Right.
It's just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah. No, I don't want that.
Right.
There's a bunch of it that I'm not getting. I know I was talking to Matt at our local comic shop, and in the past, he's tried to at least get 1 or 2 of these on the shelf. This one, he's just like, yeah, no, dude, there's too much. Yeah. Like, I can't lose that much money. I'm not doing it. And hey, respect on that. That's where he's making the right move. If you didn't pre-order these things, then you may have a hard time finding a lot of it, because I think a lot of shops are doing that.
Yeah.
There's one in there that I'd really like to check out, but it's just not on the books for me. I can't spend more money. And it was the Giant Man series
with Bill Foster and Ant-Man and all of them. That one's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think aren't they doing a Savage Avengers War of the Realms tie-in, or is that just getting its own book?
I think it's just getting its own.
Okay, I wasn't sure. There's a couple in there that have characters that I know and love that I want. There's one that has Scarlet Witch in it that I may look at the shop, but I don't know.
Is Conan doing a crossover with the Realms?
I don't know. I'd love to see. Can you imagine? Well, honestly, that would be almost too good of a fit, because
he'd be in one of the realms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What if there's an 11th realm?
What if the Hyborian Age is the 11th realm? That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right now, him and Scarlet Witch are going on adventures and stuff, so it's kind of awesome.
I'm calling that right now. Marvel, give me money.
Think it's happening? Do it. But no, so I'm kind of hooked into this book. I think the next issue is going to be slower. I think it has to be.
Yeah.
Now that we've had the initial invasion, these things always, and it's a terrible reference, and trigger warning to anybody who has PTSD or anything. But whenever I think of books like this, I'm a kid of the 90s, so post 9/11 for me, I always think about the day that the United States invaded Iraq, and specifically Baghdad. This was that to me. Like, it was just full bore, guns ablazing, everybody's like shit's blowing up everywhere.
Right.
In the next couple of issues, I think it's going to slow down, and we're going to start seeing more of like a siege kind of thing. We're going to see more beats like that, to where you get more of the story. Thor's got to make it back somehow. Right. And I'm curious about how that happens, because like you said, the Bifrost is broken. Loki's not around. Malekith has got his own web of like a secret Bifrost that he uses for his assassins, but Thor doesn't have access to that. So I'm curious to see where they go with that. And a character who only showed up for a minute, I said it earlier, Lady Jane. I think Jane Foster is going to play a big role in this that we haven't seen yet. I could absolutely see Jason Aaron putting her back on the board in a big way.
Right. Personally, I think they're going to keep Thor away for a while because, I mean, I think he's going to kind of have his own thing. I don't think he's going to be a part of the big fight until right at the end, almost Infinity War style, showing up at the end for the big battle. And I think that's okay. It's kind of like why you take the Hulk out of Civil War. You know what I mean? He is a fucking heavy hitter, and they want this war to continue on for books. So I'm picturing him staying out of the main fight for a while.
I would love to see the Black Knight show up in this with the Black Sword. I think it's kind of a perfect place for him to pop back into the zeitgeist. And he may, like I said, I haven't taken a good enough look at the preview, so he may be in one of those books. And again, if you know about that and you want to tell me about it, drop me a line, because I got annoyed looking at the preview, so I just kind of stopped.
And I guess that would be Black Knight's a great example. It made me think about, even though we brought up Conan, we haven't seen him, but any other that are kind of fantasy based kind of heroes would be a perfect fit to, especially they haven't been around to pop back up for this. Like, I know I've been hiding, but I see goblins and orcs. I gotta go fucking kill shit.
Yeah, where's the Savage Land in all this?
Ooh.
What's going on with Khazar? What's happening with Zeb in the Savage Land?
People were speculating that Black Knight was going to show up in the Endgame. Yeah. So it would be kind of a nice segue to bring those characters back into the main Marvel.
I could see it happening
and everything. So we haven't had any Captain Britain or Black Knight in a while.
Maybe they're going to bring back Jack of Hearts.
Oh, don't say that.
Nah. But, so Sean, you said that you're not hooked. You're probably not going to jump on issue 2 just because it doesn't tie into a lot of stuff you're reading. Jerry, you kind of co-signing on that one?
Yeah. No. I have to pick them up because
he has more books.
Yeah, like 5 books that I'm on are going to be crossing over into it. So
they've got their hooks in you, and I'm the same way, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. It's Jason Aaron. He's my urinal buddy who I peed next to that one time. But no, in all seriousness, I think this is a fun event. You don't have to pick up all the extra books. Right. You don't have to. If you're going to complain about it, don't do it. Like, no one's making you, so just don't. And you'll be fine.
You can make the choice. I'm making the choice. I'll be reading Avengers, and if Runaways or any of my other Marvel books tie in, cool. Yeah. But it's just, I don't have to. And you know what? That's fine. It could still be an amazing story that I'm going to miss out and buy and trade if it's that great.
All right. So, moving on from there. Jerry, buddy, it's been a little bit. Been a few weeks. What you been reading, man?
So, my book of the week, it was a really hard pull because I was trying to decide on if I wanted to either go over the latest issue of Die, because it was the end of the story arc, or if I wanted to talk about something new that just came out. So I settled on Dial H for Hero.
Nice.
One of the new Wonder Comics issues. They've done Dial H in the past. I think the most recent was... I think it was like 2012. They did a New 52 title of it. The whole synopsis of it is they have this magical rotary phone. And you dial...
Wait. First, for our millennials in the audience.
Yes.
Explain what a rotary phone is.
A rotary phone is... it has a base, and then it has a little telephone receiver with a cord attached to it. And then on the top of it, instead of having all of the buttons and everything, it has a little dial that you have to spin and press the numbers for to be able to dial anything. Except this one is magic in the way where whenever you dial H, it compiles like data or DNA from different heroes to make a completely new hero.
According to rotary phone logic, though, wouldn't you be also dialing G and I?
It doesn't matter.
I also want to point out that we've officially gone full grandpa this episode.
We really have.
Continue.
So our story kicks off, and in the past, it's always been somebody that's been chosen, you know, for this device. It's kind of like almost a Green Lantern ring in that fashion. So we start off with this kid named Miguel, who's monologuing about this time that he had this coolest thing happen to him. He tried to do a backflip into a swimming pool, hit his head on the concrete, and fell in and sank. Luckily for him, Superman was in the area and picked him up and was flying him, whenever he came to, he was in Superman's arms flying through the air. That was the coolest thing that happened to him, not hitting his head and almost drowning.
Are we going to have to start wearing helmets when we dive now?
Which I thought was kind of interesting, because in Naomi, Superman was the one who kind of impacted the beginning of that story as well. So this kind of turns into Miguel wanting to feel that rush of flying again. So, they show kind of a montage of him growing up after that. And he's like rock climbing, skateboarding, wrestling, racing go-karts, jumping off of cliffs into, lakes and stuff like that. And then we get to the present day, and you pretty much find out that, something happened to his parents, and he's staying with his uncle, who owns this this food truck called Mayo Madness, where everything that they sell is mayo, and it's pretty much as gross as you could think of it.
You mispronounced amazing.
Amazing.
I quit.
So we find out that this place that he's in is kind of a small town in California called Devil's Canyon, where nothing happens. And he runs into this girl who, they do this nice little 3-panel thing of her being brought back by the cops over and over again. Apparently she's constantly trying to run away. She's trying to talk him into taking the truck and leaving town. And then she just kind of asks him oh, can I have some food, something that doesn't have mayo? So he gives her a sandwich. And after that, the uncle kind of pops in and is like, oh, you didn't clean the mayo traps, in the car. And you kind of find out that his uncle, I mean, he's probably caring, but he's that kind of person that I'm going to take you in, but you're going to have to work hard and stuff like that.
Right.
And Miguel was kind of saying that he had somewhere to be that day. So I guess he gets done with his work, goes to the canyon, and some of his friends put together this really sketch-tastic cliff, and or put together a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna make this jump, across this cliff. He goes to make it and falls, and he's falling down the canyon. And as he's falling, this phone appears, this glowy red rotary phone. And it's listen, you need to dial H if you want to get out of this situation.
Right, no joke.
They have this really great scene where it shows the phone, and it shows the twisty cord that's holding the phone together. And you see him and the phone falling through the cord. And it basically tells him to dial H for hero. He finally gives in. He's like, what would you do if this phone just popped out of nowhere and somebody on the other line was telling you to dial H? So he does it, and then he starts getting this crazy feeling, and a phone booth pops up around him. Now, a phone booth they used to have these on street corners, and it's for before cell phones were a thing. You would go in, you would put money into it, and you would dial, for whoever. And it's also iconic in DC because that's what Superman used to change into his costumes.
Yes.
Which they actually bring that up. He's in the phone booth, and he's like, wait a second, this phone booth, this is like a poster that I had in my room, and it shows, the Superman getting out of the phone booth. And then before they hit the ground, a portal opens up, and he goes through it, and then it shows a bunch of heroes and villains. You've got Robin, which I'm guessing is, looks like Tim Drake. They've got Lobo. They've got one kid that I don't know. I don't recognize him really. Apparently he's used the H style. You've got Harley. You've got this gorilla and this young lady that I don't know. And then you have Alfred. And what it's pretty much looking like, what I got out of it, is that it borrows the DNA from all these different people and creates a hero out of it. So he's going through, and he sees, this giant dial for the phone, and he's talking about who he's transforming into, and then the book goes totally 90s.
Nice.
He turns into the monster truck, and he's talking about how he's, his veins are pumping diesel, and he just looks insane, completely straight out of a 90s flick. He's got a metallic leg and fucking tires all over him and everything, and he's got gauges across his chest. They're anytime they do this in the past, they kind of explain their origin story, like in a couple of pages. This one was kind of cool. So it's like these three trucks. There's a food truck, a monster truck, and a diesel 18-wheeler. And they're basically describing themselves as the truck force, and they've like chosen him to cross the bridge between humanity and truck kind, which is kind of cool because it's almost like the Parliament of the Green with Swamp Thing, but they did it in truck form. So he's like got all these catchphrases like pedal to the metal and truck yeah.
And a side note, because this is a podcast and not a video, the art style changed into such a 90s, a million lines for shadows, and grimacing teeth. Like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and he's got muscles that are like giant tree branches. It's just ridiculous. And it shows him going around like smashing cars and talking about like, you know, that he has 18 wheels of awesome. And yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. And then Miguel kind of goes out of it after having that feeling. And he realized that he's in a car lot and he just smashed a bunch of cars and the cops are showing up. And luckily, the girl from earlier shows up in his uncle's food truck and, you know, kind of saves the day. And they jump in it and off they go. The phone starts ringing again and he goes to answer it. And it comes to be this character, the operator. And he's calling from a place called the Heroverse, which is where all these heroes come from. And he says that the agents of the Thunderbolt Club will do anything to get their hands on that phone, including, you know, your death, you know, killing you. Wow. So
you in danger, girl.
I thought it was pretty great. I really enjoyed it. It's a concept that I really like. Mm-hmm. You know, just having unlimited number of like ideas of just super ridiculous and obscure characters that they can turn into. And I like that they changed the art style. I'm interested to see if they do that for every single one that they do, like use maybe a different artist or something like that. There have been several times in the past where somebody has used the phone and turned into an actual character. I think one of the older series, they had turned into like villains or, you know, Superman's even popped up. The one from 2012, like, they were some pretty fucking wild heroes. And they introduced more phones. They had one phone where, like, they could only use it whenever the main person's using theirs, and it turned them into sidekicks for that hero.
Oh, wow.
They had a villain phone. They had a wiretap phone where it stole the hero's powers and turned them into, like, you know, another version of that hero. It's...
Conceptually, there's a lot they can do with it.
There's so much. So I'm pretty excited to see a good run from this. Yeah, I'm totally down.
So I read this too, and when I read it, I remember, like I think I said out loud, if not at least to myself, Jerry is going to love this book. It was absolutely a book that I knew that you would really dig conceptually. It wasn't for me. And that's not to say it's bad by any means. It just wasn't for me. I don't know if it was just too absurdist, which is ridiculous because I don't like absurdist film, but I like absurdism in my comics. Mm-hmm. So some people were talking about this on a thread on our Facebook group, and because I've never read this before, other than this title, and they were saying some of the books from the past had a little bit of a darker tone, and so I wondered if I might not like that more. I may have to go check it out and see. But no, dude, when I read this, I was just like, no, this is tailor made for Jerry Smith.
Yeah, the new 52 version did get pretty dark.
Did it? Okay, I may have to go check that out and see what it's like, because this was it wasn't made for me, which is fine.
Sounds like a lot of fun though.
Yeah. And then the main character for the last one was way different. Like, he was kind of this sloppy dude that didn't take care of himself and didn't have a job and everything. And he actually started off by finding a phone booth.
Oh, okay.
That he could get the powers from. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty big change of character.
Kind of reminds me a little bit, and it makes, now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense. It reminds me a little bit of that character that Marvel did with, like, a while back. There was like a Red Hulk that could be the Hulk for an hour in a 24-hour period. It wasn't Thaddeus Ross, but it turned into... I didn't like that either. So I wonder if it's this, for me, if it's just a part of the narrative where characters are changing into other characters that I don't know. I don't know. I need to do some self-exploration about that and figure out what it is about it.
Right.
But no, dude, I'm glad you loved it.
Yeah.
And it made, like I said, I knew you would.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was Sam Humphries that was the writer for it, and Joe Quinones that was the artist and the cover artist. Letterer was Dave Sharp.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Quinones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what Sam Humphries wrote last that I was kind of into, but
He's done a lot. Yeah, he's a well-known scribe of the comics.
True.
So, Sean, buddy, what you been reading, man?
The book that stood out for me last, I think it was a week or two ago when this came out, is the Avengers number 17. Continually to be written by Jason Aaron, as well as art duties by David Marquez and colors by Eric Arcega. And this is the finale, I'm assuming, or is it, to the vampire war that's been going on in the recent Avengers issues. If you haven't been reading it, a little quick thing, Avengers have been battling with this group of Russian vampires, all led by a guy called the Colonel, and they captured Dracula, taken him into Russian hands, who have been torturing him and trying to get information out of him. And it opens with them finally getting what they needed from him and banishing him to Chernobyl, if I'm pronouncing that.
Yeah, Chernobyl.
Chernobyl.
Yep.
In the Ukraine. And so Dracula's beaten, and this is the Dracula from Marvel history. He's beaten, battered, and just a shell of himself.
Done. Yeah, he's not done.
And he said that over the course of this thing, through the torture. He's like, I'm just ready to end it. But then it comes back into another part of Russia where the Avengers are fighting with this group. We have just like Thor, Captain Marvel. They're just going back and forth. A lot of action this one, so it's going to be kind of skimming through all that. But we've had a lot of battles. Blade, has been brought in to join the team, especially for this, as well as just obviously he's fucking Blade.
Which is fucking stupid.
What?
Blade on the Avengers, I love
They're fighting vampires.
It's so dumb, it's amazing.
Hey, he got to yell Avengers Assemble this issue.
It's the best. I flipped as an OG Avengers fan.
Right.
I flipped my shit when that happened, dude.
Even he's not crazy about it. He's like arguing with them the entire time about their tactics.
He doesn't play well with others.
Because they want to save these vampires.
Yeah.
Blade ain't about saving no damn vampires. But it's a good shot of like Blade and the crew, my girl She-Hulk in the back looking badass as all hell, going through and fighting them. And one of my favorite moments in this book, which I alluded to earlier in our War of the Realms book, is She-Hulk's battle with a guy who can make rats explode as his power. And I believe the dog is called Sarge. Is partnered with the Colonel. Is a skull-faced dog beast that's been fucking them up. He's a legit fighter. Attacks She-Hulk from the behind, and she's just getting super mad. And they're like, "Well, we brought someone who wanted to meet you," and it's Thori.
Yep.
And like I said, I am not as versed because I haven't been reading Thor. I've only been getting taste of Thori now and heard y'all going on about Thori, and Thori's amazing. And it comes in with just a Thori biting at the throat, yelling, "Thundermaster, say you think you better Muderdog than Thori? Thori, make murder now!" And I'm like, sold. I need a Thori book.
It's pretty amazing.
Continue on to Blade fighting with the Colonel, who has what they're calling Boy Thing. It's a smaller version of Man Thing. Maybe an actual offspring. I'm not really sure the history of all that, but it's been providing the Colonel, who has a chain gun with stakes, wooden stakes being produced from Boy Thing, which is pretty badass into itself. Blade him throw down. It's an amazing fight going back and forth. We cut back briefly to Dracula, who's just like kind of lamenting about being in this wasteland. Like, where's a vampire to rest with no coffin? And like I said, we're still seeing Dracula going through Chernobyl. So it's like, we don't necessarily know what he's planning on doing. Cut back to the fight. Like I said, Blade and the Colonel throwing down hardcore, ending with Blade getting Boy Thing. Oh, actually, I skipped something. With nice interference it helped because the Colonel was beating the shit out of Blade. Like, he was whooping ass. And then the Ghost Driver, Ghost Rider Robbie, comes in, beating the shit out of him. He's been going through his own thing with his own mental issues with, big spoilers if you're not reading this or waiting for the trade, but tough luck. Johnny Blaze.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider. Kind of talking to him within his mind, I guess within the Ghost Rider soul
the
universe.
Vengeance,
Yeah. That's been really interesting. But with that help, Boy Thing jumps on Blade, who didn't want to be part with the Colonel. He always felt like it was kind of holding him captive and using
he's
him.
more of a tool. So it's one of those things. It's not It's not sentient.
Right.
At least it doesn't feel that way.
Right. Because I'm not super familiar with Man-Thing. I
Yeah.
never knew how much he was just a creature of instinct or actual thing. I don't know.
Well, they've changed up, and we can get into this when you're done. I don't want to hijack it, but they've changed up a little bit of the way that we think about Man-Thing in the Marvel Universe, and we'll talk about that when you get to summarize the book.
Yeah, that's it's about there. Basically, Boy Thing jumps on Blade, gives him double long stakes. He decapitates the Colonel. She-Hulk, who can now, again, like I said, I haven't been reading the wider Marvel stuff, can apparently emit gamma radiation bombs when she builds up stuff. I didn't know about that. Very cool.
She can blow her top.
And that kind of like ends the fight. You see Captain America pulling, or Iron Man pulling Cap out of the fight. You see everyone else was kind of clear of the blast. And then you see Thori standing above Sarge, announcing to the world that Thori, king of all dogs.
Yep.
Which is amazing. Then you have, like I said, the wrap up. They have a few of the vampires who they beat are now captured. Going through some things. Cut to the battlefield. You see the rest of the vampires who didn't get captured standing with a much healthier looking Dracula, who has announced that he is starting the new kingdom of the vampires in Chernobyl. So while the next issues are leading into War of the Realms, the War of the Vampires may not be over.
I don't think it is. I think that's one of those things where Aaron is leaving breadcrumbs that he's going to be able to pick up on.
So maybe Savage Avengers. Maybe my hope is Blade will get his own series, which I would jump on.
Yeah.
Oh man! And if he gets to keep Boy Thing,
yes,
right. So with that, back to the Man-Thing kind of conversation. In several different books, they've been going to the Savage Land.
Okay.
And in the Savage Land, there are many Man-Things. Not just one. There are these like lumbering creatures, which kind of, it's a retcon of some sort, and I'm not sure when it happened or where it happened. But, traditionally the Man-Thing was a character that fell into the swamp that was killed, and he came back, and, anybody who knows fear burns at the touch of the Man-Thing. If you want to read that, go check out if you want to read a good summary of that, Marvel Comics Presents Volume 1. Honestly, I think it's like the first 10 issues has a story about that. That's just, I'd have to go look up the creative team on it, but it's what made me fall in love with it.
Okay.
But they've been doing something different. But yeah, because now the Men-Thing are
the people things.
Yeah, they're being pawns of different people. We were talking earlier, Dario Agger, whatever his name is, the Roxxon big bad guy in the Hulk. Well, not Champions. It was the Hulkverine book that they did. They went again to the Savage Land, and there were characters there that, and for anybody who's not reading it, there were more mystical characters. It's the big bad. I'm terrible with names. The big bad from King Arthur. The woman. Morgana. Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay was there, and she was kind of manipulating things, and so was Roxxon. They were two manipulative people trying to work things, and there are just Man-Things lumbering about, doing their thing all over the place. So again, I don't know where it happened, but now it seems that it's more of a species than a figure, which leads to Boy Thing being a pawn, at least for whatever, to grow and shoot spikes. For almost weaponized, right? It's an interesting concept. What are the ethics of that?
Do they still have the whole thing where they can open up portals to other realms and stuff like that?
I think so. Yeah. I think that because that they were using a portal to get back and forth. Yeah. In the whatever that book's called. It was the Hulkverine thing. Was Greg Pak was writing. It's good. It's fun, but it's not the best. I had fun with it. But yeah, so I think they can still open up portals, but. I did not see this twist coming. Right. Of them and we should have, right? Like there's no way that Dracula is this broken.
Right. It did seem out of character, and I was expecting something. By the end of it though, I honestly thought like, okay, maybe might tie into something later. I wasn't expecting like this whole thing of him being captured by this group, taken to Russia, and all this was all plotted by him to get out of his homeland. And make a new one that he had been manipulating the same group who kidnapped and tortured him and all that kind of thing. It was all a big play. Yeah. So like Russia's about to become a lot of vampire land.
And it's cool too. So it reminds me of like the Latveria thing with Doctor Doom. These characters trying to put forth their own nation. I mean, the X-Men have had that happen as well, where they tried to have their own nation, Genosha.
Yeah.
And Chernobyl being a place where humans can't live anyway because of the big nuclear fallout and whatever. Like, it's a cool concept. It's problematic because if you're making a kingdom for vampires in a place where people can't get, how are they feeding? So there's an issue with that, obviously, and I think that'll play in more down the line.
Right. I think that's going to be more. I think that's going to be I'm about to say more his home base. I think they're about to take over Russia.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be his defensive home. The only limited amount of people can actually come in there.
I mean, yeah, if you have a base where people can't storm your castle, that's not a unsmart strategy.
Yeah, not very, and that's even on hero levels. There's not many that can survive that kind of radiation.
Hopefully, it does lead to a new Blade series.
I would love it.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. We haven't had a good single Blade series, I guess, since the first 6-issue run. I know a while back they were bringing back Blade, but it was his daughter.
Right.
So I'm not sure what's up with that, but curious.
Definitely, but it's been a good run, and I'm pretty sure there's enough volumes about the Vampire War enough that it'll probably be its own trade. Even if you're not reading Avengers, I'd highly recommend this one. It was just fun action and, good vampire story.
It was. Good stuff. So I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, what did you read?
I'm sorry, Caleb, we're out of time.
That joke never gets old, Jerry.
Yeah.
Ever. Love you, buddy. So I picked up a book, and it wasn't my favorite book that I read, but I felt like we needed to talk about it on the show just because it's such a landmark issue. And I know it's a landmark issue because it says landmark issue right on the cover.
It does.
Cool.
It lets you know for sure.
What makes it a landmark?
It is Detective Comics number 1000.
Why do you have to look at it?
I need a third cup of coffee this morning to make sure I was saying detective right. No, it's Batman Detective Comics number 1000, produced by DC. This is huge. Whether or not you're a fan of the Bat or not, I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Batman on some level.
Right.
Seeing this comic get to 1,000 is awesome. Earlier, either I think 2018, 2019, I'm not sure which, we got Action Comics 1000. So we're seeing these characters hit these milestones that get into 4 digits on their numbering, and that's just cool on a number of levels. This is Batman's 80th birthday this year. He celebrated 80 years of The Dark Knight, and that's just awesome. So DC got together, much like they did with Action Comics, and they put together an anthology series. It is 96 pages with no ads. You're getting 96 pages of comics. That's dope. From creators who are current, creators who were semi-retired, that they brought out of retirement to do this book, people who have had a long-standing legacy with the Bat, and they put together some really great stories. I say that. Like all anthologies, there were some misses for me, but there were a lot of hits. And so with this, with comics, it's a medium that it's collaborative, and so there were some stories that were hits with the visuals, and there were some stories that were hits with the storylines, and there were some that were both. So I thought I'd cover a few of those just for you guys, because I don't know, did either one of you guys, were you able to pick this up?
I didn't pick it up.
Yeah, I knew neither one of you were on Detective Comics, so I didn't know if y'all would grab this. The first story, and it might be my favorite story in the book, it is written by Paul Dini, who, if you don't know who Paul Dini is, he is the man who wrote a lot of the Batman the Animated Series scripts. Fantastic writer. He's the person who invented Harley Quinn for Sean. And it was
just for me.
Just for you.
Just
for Sean.
And thank you, Mr. Dini.
Specifically. It was drawn by Dustin Nguyen, inked by Derek Fridolfs, and colored by John Cleese, and Steve Wands did the letters. This story, and it's done much in the way, like it's done in a 2019 version of an animated Batman the Animated Series style. But it's the story of a character called Newt Brody, who, have you ever heard of that character?
Nope.
Neither has anybody else. And that's what makes it so much fun. Newt Brody's a henchman. He's a professional henchman, and he's not a good one. And he is consistently the guy who fucks up the master plan. They have all of these figures, all of your big bads in the Batman Rogue Gallery know about him. So they're interviewing Harley Quinn, and she's like, who? They interview the Mad Hatter, and he's like, yeah, he's an idiot. I'm glad he's dead. The Riddler's like, oh yeah, he's a piece of shit. Poison Ivy's pretty sure she killed him. And so all these characters are just hating on Mr. Newt Brody. Well, why? So they each kind of give their own little diatribe, their history of why they all hate him. And he's just kind of a lovable, clumsy oaf, minus the lovable part. He is the guy who, in the middle of a master plan that's going right, will accidentally trip you and get you caught by the cops. Or he will accidentally turn around the wrong way and hit you in the face with a baseball bat and knock you out. He will let the information slip to the wrong person. He's constantly, inadvertently foiling the plans of the people that he's working for, which is not what you want in your henchmen. That's not gonna, you would think if he has this reputation, people would quit hiring him, right. But apparently they don't. And Poison Ivy's got her own history with him, where he accidentally burnt down one of her labs. Just all of these things. But the twist, and this is where it's a really, really fun little 6 to 8 page story. The twist is that all along, Newt Brody has been Bruce Wayne in disguise.
Oh, Lord.
Working as a henchman.
That's amazing.
And to the point to where they're like, hey, this is played out, it's getting old. And out of the corner, someone comes around the corner and says, no, it's not. We're just getting started. Just call me Newt Brody Jr. And it's Damien in a disguise. It was my favorite story from the book. It warmed my heart. Very reminiscent of the films that the show that we loved in our childhood. Just a shit ton of fun. Another one that hit the story mark for me that took a more serious tone that speaks to the legacy of Batman and something that honestly got me in my feels for a minute. It was written by Kevin Smith, which I didn't see coming. Penciled by the amazing Jim Lee, with Scott Williams on the inks, Alex Sinclair on the colors, and Todd Klein on the letters. What is the one artifact, the physical object that you would think really led Bruce to being Bruce, to being Batman? The one thing throughout his history, throughout his whole life, the one moment that turned his life.
I was going to say moment. Yeah.
Well, what is the object from that moment that you would think?
No, mother's pearls.
Close. No. The gun. The gun that killed his parents. Bruce has tracked down through the seedy underground of Gotham. He's found a person who deals in artifacts that were used to hurt superheroes, or at least these artifacts that are important in that way. And he finds the gun that kills his parents. Why would Bruce want that? He's already psychologically broken. He's already got enough. Why would he want to bring that to his own home? It's the thing that arguably ruined his life.
Right.
And Alfred is having this conversation with him. He's saying, Master Bruce, look, I've let you do all of these things. Not that, let him in the way that only Alfred can. He's like, I've stood by while you've hurt yourself, and I've helped you do all these things, but I can't watch you do this to yourself. You don't need this in your own home. What are you doing? Why would you want to keep this? Why would you want to see it every day? Bruce doesn't want to see it every day. Bruce kind of smirks, and he melts the gun. And what he does is he turns it into a plate, a metal plate, and he puts it behind the bat signal on his chest.
Oh, wow.
And it's what makes that area bulletproof. So the thing that broke him as a child, the thing that took away his parents' life, could have arguably killed him, is the thing that saves his life over and over and over again. And this is early on in the Bat days. So he's had, right. This is the kind of what we would call the classic costume with the yellow bat signal, from that era. And that's what is deflecting the bullets in that area. It's saving his life. That is a touching thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just really digs deep into the mythos and the lore of Batman. Another one that really hit home for me and artistically is one of my favorite in this book. It's called Batman's Design by Warren Ellis, Becky Cloonan, Jordi Belair on the colors, and Simon Boland. And it doesn't really feel like a Warren Ellis story as much as I thought it would, but the Bats is storming this kind of warehouse where these militant operatives who are heavily armed are holed up, and they're doing all of these things. And Bruce, being a man with a plan, always has prepared for this. And he's kind of worked to bottleneck them into this exact warehouse. It wasn't their idea. They think it was, but they're wrong. It's always Bats. And he has got the room wired and triggered for little explosions and those kind of things. So as he's working them and taking them out one by one, he's going through and saying S1, S2, F3, just doing all these things.
You sunk my battleship.
Exactly. And just kind of systematically breaking these dudes down one by one. And he finally gets to the last guy. And the last guy is basically wearing a dirty bomb. And he's saying, hey, like, you can't get any closer. I'll do this. It'll poison Gotham for you. You're done. I've outsmarted you. This dude doesn't know Batman. But what happens when you're the bad guy with nothing else to lose and you can't get close to him? When Bruce can't hit him with a batarang or his bat claw or punch him, Bruce has always got his brain. And so he just stares this dude down. Like, he just, like, breaks him down with his words. He's saying, look at me. I'm already dead. I'm trapped in this place and all I do is haunt the living. Is that what you want for yourself? Is that what you want to do? And the guy just, like, a silent tear rolls down the side of his face and he says no and he hands him the trigger. Deep fucking cuts.
Wow.
Like, that's
no
just,
shit.
It was outstanding. A great story. And to me, like I said, one of my favorite ones from the book. Another one's called I Know by Brian Bendis, Alex Maleev, and Josh Reed. Another artistic standout. The story was wordy. It's Bendis.
Right.
Bendis is wordy, but I love Alex Maleev's art. What he does on the page is just phenomenal. And so essentially what happens is, years ago, when it was basically the Joker was running the crime syndicate and everyone was scared of the Batman, apparently Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, found out Bruce's secret. And he almost went after him. He could never connect that last dot just to be sure that Batman was Bruce Wayne. But he knew it. And so this is a rare glimpse of Batman in his silver years. Bruce Wayne is he's in a wheelchair. He's broken. He's old. Like, he's got liver spots on his face. And Oswald Cobblepot, in turn, is kind of the same position, but he at least is still mobile. And so he's like staring old man Bats down. It's like, I knew your secret. I could have taken you out this whole time. I knew it. I've got you now. And here you are. You're just broken. You can't even talk. Just being a piece of shit. Right. Just for no good reason. Other than the fact that Batman, like, ruined all of his plans back in the day. And Oswald's having this moment where, like, he finally, look, of anybody who kind of needs some comeuppance, it's Oswald. That dude is a joke, right? Like, he's a mob boss, but he's not the mob boss. He's kind of the antithesis to the Kingpin. He's just always just the punchline. And as he's saying this to a arguably mute old Bruce Wayne puts a button on his motorized scooter and lightning bolts shoot out of it. And he chases the shit out of Oswald. And then some guys just come and drag him away, and that's the end. And as they're dragging him away, he's like, "Hey, they told me you couldn't speak anymore. Now, like, you're saying things." Because Bruce is like, "I knew you knew. Of course I knew you knew. Why do you think you couldn't connect those last dots? I made that happen." And then as they're dragging him away, he just says, "Good visit." It's just, like I said, the book is 96 pages, chock full of Batman love. Another one called Batman's Greatest Case, written by Tom King and Tony S. Daniel, and Joel Jones did some art on it. It's with Tomo Mori on the colors and Clayton Cowles on the letter. This is back for Batman in his heyday, and what I loved about this is because this actually brought in the family, the Bat family, and so you get Dick, Nightwing on a rooftop, giving some back and forth with Damian. They're actually, like, what you find out is Dick's voice is the narration, and they're doing what brothers do. And so he's like, why wouldn't he call me and let me know about all these things, or why wouldn't he ask me about these things? And you don't know what quote unquote these things are. He's like, I'm not the world's greatest detective, but I'm not the last on the list. And Damian's like, out of 12 of us, you're number 12 because he's Damian. And Dick is like, well, at least I'm better than Ace. He's like, oh, we're considering Ace? Yeah, no, you're 13. Mm-hmm. Just jiving back and forth with him.
It's the only time I like Damian.
Right?
Just fucking with Nightwing.
Yeah, well, and they're brothers, and that's a little brother piece of shit move that you just want to punch him in the face. Red Hood, who's one of my personal favorite characters in the Back family, is on the rooftop talking to the Signal, and he's just, he's like, this has got to be about me. This is why he called us here. He's finally going to kick me out of the family. I've crossed the line. Tim and Stephanie are having their conversation about, what do you think this is about? And Stephanie just kind of wants to make out on the roof because they're all in their little Twitter-pated cutesy coupley stage. Batwoman and Batgirl are having a conversation on the roof, and Batgirl's like, I don't understand. What makes you Batwoman and me Batgirl? Like, how old are you? And she's just like, none of your business. Don't worry about it. and the cat gets up there, and finally Bruce shows up out of nowhere. And in the midst of this, they're cutting back to moments of Bruce's life, him standing in front of his parents' tomb, him in the rain, him dropping a family photo. And you find out that what they're all there for, the reason they've been called there, is not to kick anybody out of the Bat family. It's not because there's some great mystery. It's simply because they wanted a family photo. And so they've got the entire Bat family with everybody, including Alfred, on the rooftop overlooking the Gotham skyline. And they snap their family photo. And Catwoman's in it. And it's written by Tom King.
Right.
That's important to remember. I don't know where this takes place in the overall narrative, but Tom King's writing it, and Catwoman's in the family. I don't know what kind of message that's sending us, but it's interesting.
Right.
And then last, but certainly not least on my favorites list, was the very last story in the book. It was called Medieval. It was written by Peter J. Tomasi, who is the regular scribe of Detective Comics. He's going to be the one carrying on the issue from here on out. Doug Mahnke is on the pencils and blows it up with Jamie Mendoza doing the inks. David Barron on the colors, and Rob Lee on the letters. And this is just kind of in general, number one, it's a love letter to the history of the Bat, much like the entire book is, but they pretty much have pinups of him fighting everyone imaginable throughout the Bat lore. I mean, you see him like staring down the Joker. He's got a stiletto knife stuck in his chest. You see him fighting Killer Croc with chains around the Croc's face, punching the shit out of Mr. Freeze, fighting the Man-Bat over the city. There's Ra's al Ghul and Talia. You flip the page, and there's Catwoman and Poison Ivy. There's just everybody. It's a love letter to the lore. And on the very last page, you see the Arkham Knight. The villain, the Arkham Knight. He's standing there. It's a great pinup, great single-page spread. A lot of fun. That's kind of where we're going to be going in the future with Detective Comics. Overall, I had a lot more fun with this than I did with Action Comics. And Action Comics 1000, I should say. I don't know if that's because I have a closer attachment to the Bat, or if I just enjoy the stories more, or what it was. Not that I didn't love Batman 1000, or Action Comics 1000, but this just, it flowed better to me. It felt like it had more heart. I enjoyed it more. I didn't struggle reading it like I did some of the stories. I think overall it was better produced. Fun times. And sorry for the Superman fans out there to bust on Action Comics. I still love that book. I've got it. I read it. I had a great time with it. There's some excellent stuff in there. This one just treated me better. And I had a good time with it.
I mean, it sounds like a good, because anthologies can be hit or miss. Yeah. And actually, you know what? Let's do our 50-50 rule.
Okay.
You praise, and that's so people who actually listen and value your opinion are going to think, every single story is good. Give us one quick one that you didn't care for.
Who is that person?
Surely there's one.
No, there were some misses to me, and the misses were actually surprising. They were not what I thought I was going to dislike about the book. The first one was kind of the first story, which was written by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, which was surprising. This was not Greg Capullo's finest moment.
It
was like, I say that knowing full well he could like pick me up and beat me against a tree in a sleeping bag or something like. But art is subjective.
I appreciate that Friday the 13th reference.
That was just for you, buddy. Art is subjective. So I know there's like Snyder and Capullo. A lot of people love their run on. I've got all that run, read it all. It was fun. But essentially in this story, the Batman has been on a case for years that he hasn't been able to crack. And he keeps finding little clues in places. All kinds of little clues. And they're tracking him around the world. And he finally solves it. And he walks into a room. And the Question's sitting there. Detective Chimp is sitting there. Martian Manhunter's sitting there. The Hawks are sitting there. There's a whole lot of people. And they're saying, hey, you finally made it. It's about time. Welcome to the club. And essentially there's like an Illuminati of detectives that has worked through there. And my only problem with that is Batman's the greatest detective on Earth.
Right.
Of anything. And that's his legacy. And for you to write a story about how he's been outsmarted by these other detectives who have been a part of this guild for longer than he's known about it, that's kind of bullshit.
Right.
I mean, sorry to Snyder and Capullo. I wasn't feeling it.
Okay. And that's fine. Like I said, you're going to have hit and misses. So I guess for those out there who might agree with Caleb on a lot of his books, that first story may not hook you, but there's still a lot of good in this book.
Keep going. Definitely keep going. There was another story in here that it made me sad that I didn't like it, and I want to find it just real quick. It was written by a man that I dearly love a lot of his other stuff. Or so let me rephrase that. It's written by a man that I love one thing he did a whole lot, and it's drawn by Neil Adams, but it's written by Christopher Priest, who wrote my favorite run of Black Panther. Absolutely think I adore that story. I did not like Priest's Justice League, and I didn't like this story, and I don't know what Neil Adams was doing, but he phoned this one in.
Oh wow!
The story beats were all a miss for me. A lot of it didn't make sense. This is not the Neil Adams of Neil Adams fame, and it's Neil Adams. So saying I didn't like something on Batman that Neil Adams drew is that hurts. Like that was unexpected. And then a third one that I gotta say, when I think of Batman, some of my favorite things that Batman stories have done, they are very loosely drawn. They're very subjective, because you guys know when it comes to art, like I'm weird. Like I like different styles of cartooning. I don't necessarily need things to be anatomically correct.
Right.
I like artist interpretations on things. Kelly Jones did not do it for me on this book. And Kelly Jones, if you remember his run, some of the quintessential Batman stories, he draws the Batman with the giant ears. He draws him to where he looks like a ghoul. He looks like a ghost. He's scary. He's a thing out of horror. He draws him kind of what you would imagine the criminals of Gotham have built him up to be. He's not a human thing. And I love it. In the past when he's done it, I don't know what the deal was with this one. It didn't do it. And he's a legend on Batman, right? So I'm not trying to take that away from him. You can still go read those books. I've still got Kelly Jones Batman in long boxes in my comics office. So you can still go look at that. It's not taking anything away from his legacy. But in this book, it looked stale. It was stiff. It wasn't emotive. It hurt my little feelings.
Right.
And so I don't want to think about it, because I've got other Kelly Jones that I can go look at. And it's that creepy, dark, scary Kelly Jones that I know and love. And so I'm just going to go look at those and not this one. So those are just a few that I didn't care about.
All right. Like I said, fair is fair, because you don't want to, act like every single story was a hit. For sure. So we let them know. So
well, I appreciate you asking.
Yeah. But still, overall, worth checking out.
Oh, like 80% of this book is solid.
Right.
80%. Right. And it's a little pricey. It's $10. So, hopefully you get a discount if you have a pull list at your local comic shop like we do here at Kapow, or you buy it offline and you get a little bit of a discount on it, because $10 is steep, but it's $10 for 96 pages. You're almost getting 100. You're paying like and also, if you've listened to the show, like Craig and I have talked about, we think there's probably a DC numbering reset coming. Yeah. Like it's literally in the name. It's a legacy numbering. I love knowing that these characters have been around for 80 years. And people are still finding creative ways to talk about them. I understand, like, you are more likely to sell a number of books because of the speculative market with number ones. I want to see 1,433 for no other reason than I can see that that's been going on that long. That these are things that have worked, that have kept going, that have inspired people, that have, like, we're on like the third generation now of, last year we lost Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, who I would say, at least for me, were like generation 2. You get to the Simons and the creation of Superman, or you get to I'm terrible with names, but the guy who created the Phantom, and I'm going to be mad at myself because I actually wrote a 5-page paper. No. Eisner created the Spirit.
Okay.
But so those guys are who I consider Gen 1. Then you have Stan Lee, and arguably Jack was part of Gen 1. Stan Lee launches the second generation. To me, you get the third generation in the 70s. So we're on like 5 generations now. I'm going to correct myself. 5 generations of people who are inspired by these stories. Let those big numbers shine.
Right.
That's my personal feel on it. But no, I think they're going to flip back eventually when it's a little bit of ways away. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah. So, all right, Craig. Oh, sorry. I can't wait to have him back next week. I miss that guy. So, as we do, we are going to talk about some books that are coming out on New Comic Book Day this next Wednesday. That's when the new books drop. It's my favorite day of the week. Hang out at the comic shop, buy some books, read some stuff, and just generally get the good. So, I am going to tell you to go pick up Fairlady #1 from Image Comics. It is written by Brian Schumer. It is drawn by Claudia Balboni and Marissa Louise. So essentially, this book is what happens it's like a Mulan story, but after the war with superheroes. So there's a female character who is either, so this is always an iffy kind of concept in 2019. So do you think of this character as a male impersonator, a drag king, quote unquote, or are they a trans analog? Who knows? We'll find out in the story. But they signed up to fight the war, and now the war is over, and they have to deal with the aftermath of all of that. So it's like, take the concept of Mulan, move it to like a superpowered sci-fi world thing,
right,
and then find out what happens after the war if he does their thing. So I'm curious.
It's interesting.
It's it's a cool concept. I want to see what happens with it. I love when comics, I think one of the things the comic medium does very well is focuses on gender exploration, which if you listen to the last episode, we spoke about some of that. So that's what I'm telling you. Fairlady number 1. Sean, what you reading, buddy?
I'm looking forward to Rat Queens Special Swamp Romp one-shot. If you've been reading Rat Queens or following anything, you know that the creative team has changed throughout the years of its publication. And the writer has moved on, as well as the original artist long ago and co-creator moved on. But this one-shot is starting the new creative team that's going to take over the main series as well after this.
Okay.
So that's going to be taking over writing duties is going to be Ryan Ferrari. Or Ferrer.
Mr. Ferrer, if you are offended by the way Sean said your name, please come on the show and fight us about it.
Is it Guy Ferrari?
Right. But he is credited for Death Orb and Criminy. And artist duties are going to be by Priscilla Petritz, known for doing Brilliant Trash.
Okay.
But they are taking over writing and drawing duties from the series from now on. So I'm excited to see the new team, as well as the one-shots with Rat Queens are just good old fun where they're being hired to avenge the dead unicorn of a guy who owns a stable of them.
Nice.
So it'll be typical Rat Queens, dirty trash talking, and fun.
So it's been a while since we've had a Journey into Mystery title, so of course we would get one during War of the Realms. And as we talked about earlier, you've got the McElroys writing War of the Realms. I want to say this is the first thing that they've actually written that wasn't their own, based off of the Adventure Zone.
I think so.
So the whole synopsis of it, they keep calling it Adventures in Babysitting, because you're going to have a team who is protecting Thor's baby sister, who I'm not sure we've seen anything on before. Have we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong on that. These aren't details that I generally pay a lot of attention to. But
apparently, the baby sister might hold the key to turning the tide of the war. So I'm gonna enjoy it just because of the oddball group that they picked for it. So they're gonna have Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Wonder Man, Balder the Brave, and yeah. Like they described, Adventures in Babysitting. I'm here for it.
Do it. I may pick that one up just because I think the McElroys are funny.
Yeah,
they crack me up.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a 5-issue miniseries that'll probably conclude at the end of War of the Realms.
Very cool. Jumping in. Look at you in those tie-ins.
Yeah.
Proud of you, buddy.
Oh boy.
Well, guys, are we ready to bring this thing home?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
That was Sean.
Sean's deep voice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we certainly hope you've enjoyed about the last hour and a half or so of hanging out with us, talking about some funny books, just hanging out like we do every Sunday. Come back next week. There's going to be more. I haven't decided yet next week. I got to look at the schedule because we've been gone for so long. I don't know if we're doing news or if we're doing listener questions next week. I may put up like a Facebook poll to ask about that, just to see what the fans want us to do, to see if anybody out there has an opinion on it. But we're going to come back with one of those next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Craig is going to be back with us. We're going to be whole again. It's been way too long since the four of us have had our geek brunch together, so to speak.
It's true.
If you want to come see us, though, if you've missed having the four of us in one spot, there is a special place where you can come and hang out with all of us simultaneously, or at least whenever we have internet coverage. And that is our Facebook group. We are the Southern Fried Geekery group on podcast. Southern Fried Geekery podcast group on the Facebooks. You can see what we're reading. I post panels of stuff that we're looking at and all the shenanigans and fun that we're getting into on our Instagram page and our Twitter page. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. And like I said at the first show, if you got any questions, comments, you need anything, need somebody to talk to, just anything, shoot us an email. We're southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And if we have nothing further, Craig, if you listen to this episode before you get home, please drive safe. We love you. We miss you. We can't wait to see you. I'm going to hug you. I brought you gifts. And go forth and love some comics.
Woo!